Hey Bart, how
How
you
you
doing?
doing? Good.
Very well, thanks.
Thank you.
So this is a 1-3 MGM National Harbor, 500 max buy-in. It's a multi-way pot, so the low jack has 450, high jack has 800, and then me and the cutoff I have 650.
Okay.
So was a weird table for the way things are normally at MGM. It was a lot of limpers and a lot of like tricky limpers. So where you would see limp 3-bet, limp 4-bet. So there were two limps to the low jack who raises to 15. Of the players in the hand that we'll talk about, he was the one who probably had the least experience. He was one of the few people that weren't increasing their bet size based on limpers beforehand. So he was actually relatively straightforward. 15 meant he had a pretty good hand, 20 meant he had a good hand, and 25 meant he had a very good hand. So kind of could feel out where he was at based on that. The hijack calls, and then sometimes I'll use 6-7 specifically as my three bet bluff range. But because of the tricky limpers, I just went with I went to a non polarized three betting range, so I just called, and then it folds around.
You went to a non-polarized three
Yeah, I
betting
can't
range
think of
and
the
you
word right
called.
now. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
funny.
Whatever the word I'm looking for is. A
So, so I
linear
mean,
range. There it is.
a linear call range. So
Yeah,
I put up a terminology video today on YouTube.
I
I
saw
just
it, and
got
I'm
as
gonna watch it today.
funny. So two limps, low jack to 15, hijack calls. I mean, this is another one of these things where I assume the straight open is to like 15 usually, right? Or is it to
Yes,
10?
15 is about right.
So it's kind of weird that he's not obviously making his raise size a little bit larger. And but you're saying that sometimes people at this level don't know what's going on, because I would kind of tend to want to attack this for that reason. Again, straight out of small stakes exploits, where this is usually a bullshit raise and you can sort of take it down. The only thing is that you're got to watch your stack sizes and stuff like that. I mean, and also too, there is a specific casino in LA that this happens a lot. The smaller stakes you go, the more you have to be a little bit concerned about getting limp re-raised.
Yeah, that happens a lot at this table. It's that table.
Yeah,
There was two people specifically where I saw them limp, then got 3-bet between them, and then 4-bet from a limp. So
I mean, I can sort of get on board with a call. It's close. It's a situation where you can certainly three bet light, I think, because of the bullshit raise sizing. But then again, you do have to be a little bit wary of the limp re-raise. So you call them the cutoff, and then the limpers call, or
yep.
what?
No, both limpers fold. So it's just yeah, exactly. And it was one of the ones that had been 3-betting and 4-betting was one of the limpers. So I could have easily 3-bet and been okay. I think
So three ways, right?
three ways. Yep. And
Okay.
I have six of diamonds, 7 of diamonds.
Okay. Six of diamonds, seven of diamonds. Okay.
Yep. So flop comes out Jack of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds.
So you flop a flush.
I do. I flop a flush.
Okay.
So the low jack and the hijack check, which, having played with them for a couple hours and actually over a couple of days, it screamed one of two things. Either they had higher diamonds, but more likely they didn't have much of anything and they were afraid of the diamonds. So that thought goes through my head. Okay, I have the flush. I have to worry about a fourth diamond coming out, but if they each have a diamond, which we'll find out in a second, then there's only 8 cards that can help them, so there's only a 32% chance. So most of the time, I have a good chance of making this the end. So how do I maximize what I can get out of this, while still building the pot? So I bet 20 into, which is a 45, about $50 at the time, I think.
I mean, I would just start piling here a little bit larger. I would go
Yeah,
40. I mean, again, this is one of these things where it's sort of more the absolute size. When the pot is small, right? The percentage of pot size means, well, when the pot is very small, the percentage of pot size means less. And also when the pot is very large, the percentage of pot size means less, meaning that if you bet 40 into 55, that's not like, oh my God, you bet 80% a pot, right?
yeah,
And then on the flip side, because the pot is small right now, and then on the flip side, if the pot was 1,000 and someone bet 500, that would be a huge bet, even though it's 50% of the
yeah,
pot. So the smaller the pot size, the more I think for value, you're not going to be, it's not the equivalent of betting 80% of the pot if you go 40, even though like in math terms
yeah,
it is. Do you see what I'm saying? So I just
yeah,
think there's
absolutely.
a lot of overcards and stuff that are going to call with any sort of high diamond. It's interesting. I mean, at the small stakes, are people checking some hands because they're scared of the flush? But any overcard with a diamond, I would just bet 40. I mean, it's something subtle. But okay, so you bet 20.
And honestly, that's one of my biggest leaks, I think, right now. And so I just came back to poker after 16 years of not playing,
Mm-hmm.
and really bet sizing is my biggest problem. Trying to figure out how to. I tend towards small every time because I want calls,
Well,
and I think I'm
small.
leaving a lot of money on the table.
I mean, small multi-way is not a bad thought. Again, it's sort of the theoretical perspective of it, because the reason why betting small multi-way, or why the theory says to bet small multi-way, is because your opponents don't have the responsibility that they do when it's heads up in terms of sort of pot share in their equity. So, like, if you bet 40 here, I mean, the theory could go like, the guy who's the preflop raiser, if he had like Jack 9 of hearts here with a guy behind him and he checked the flop, the theory might say that he's supposed to fold that hand. I mean, it's really close, whereas heads up he would call. So that's why the smaller sizing is sort of the thing multi-way. But the reality of it is that, and we've seen this time and time again on the show, at these stakes, the whole multi-way responsibility thing is just something that people don't understand. And then they'll still make very, very light calls when they're not supposed to. But I would just sort of bring it back to basics and be like, well, if I'm betting 20 here, what am I getting called here for 20 that I'm not getting called here for 40?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So.
So then the turn comes out of 3 of spades. So a blank.
Well, what happened here?
Wait
a minute. What happened? You said you bet 20.
They both call. They
Okay.
both call.
Okay.
Both call.
Both call. So, I mean, there you go. There you go. So both call. I got to interject here. I don't know. For some reason, I'm feeling feisty here. Ivashi Shaton said 40 into 55 is not 80%. Okay, buddy. God.
Yeah.
Excuse me. 8/11ths. How about that? 8/11ths. All right. So hero bets 20. Both call. All right. So it's 105 here is the pot size. Okay. Yep.
So then the turn comes out of 3, so nothing. A big
Three.
blank for anybody.
3x. Okay, so 3 of clubs. Yep.
Then it check to me,
Okay. Pretty good
and
card
then I
for
bet
you.
45.
So check, and hero bets 45. By the way, at this point, I would say that as the pot gets larger, then now you start to see some things where if you start going up, but I mean, like I said, I would have bet 40 call, but I would still, I would still go 75 here. I would still go 75, at least 75 or more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's because I was thinking, like, what do they have most likely they're willing to call? Maybe 2 pair or a jack or a 10 with a king or ace of diamonds.
Any
They 4?
king of diamonds or ace of diamonds is probably going to. Here's the thing about having a king or an ace of diamonds here is most likely it's either going to be a pair plus a diamond or some sort of overcard with a diamond or overcard and straight draw with a diamond when you take a look at the texture of this board. So I think going up 75, 80, you're going to get at least one call. So you go 45. Okay. Yep.
Okay. And both of them call.
Wow. So both calls. So we're going to add 135 here, and now the pot's 240, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
So then the river comes out king of clubs.
King of clubs. So the final board reads jack of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds. I put 3 of clubs here on the turn, and the river here
3 of spades.
Okay, 3 of spades. Sorry, same difference. And the river is the king of clubs. And how does that change things? What do you think? How do you think that this card changes things here?
So I think really when it comes to me having the best hand, I don't think it changes much of anything. If I had the best hand before, I'm still good. I think it could help with some 2 pairs. So if they had jack king of with a king of diamonds or 10 jacks, so there's more 2 pairs. And it could. There's also the straight, which comes into play in a minute. Which one of the most obvious straights completes.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think this is actually a really good card for you to get value because I see a lot of people running into King X here. There might be some ace queen types of holdings, something like that. If somebody, like I said, had a king of diamonds and they could even have kings up here, this is a great card for you. Would I rather see this card or would I rather see like a total brick, like an offsuit 6? I got to be honest with you. I think I'd almost rather see this card. I can see some king queens and stuff in here too. I just think that it's going to be very hard for this card to not help at least one of your opponents here at the end.
Yep. And this is where I think I mess up. So I only bet 75 into the
Oh,
two.
so it goes check, check, right?
Yep, check to me, and I
All
bet
right.
75. And my thinking at the time was, well, if they had the jack or 10, they had something to call,
Uh-huh.
right? If they just have jack ace with the ace of diamonds, the king's a scare card. So I wanted to try to get both of them to call. I tried to pick an amount that I thought would be whatever got them here would be enough for them both to call.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, I mean, yes, in that specific situation, you're right, that specific example. But remember, you're up against two people. So there's other hands that are out there, too.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if, like, ace jack is necessarily checking the flop. I'm just going to go for max value because you're probably right. It would be very hard. I think it's very hard to get called here in both spots if you bet again. Let's say, for example, you bet and then the first guy calls. Like, what is the second guy going to... I mean, maybe you get an overcall from, like, kings up or something like that, the second guy, if he checked to you. But, man, I would go, like, 200 at least. I would have gone...
Yeah, okay.
I would have gone 40 on the flop. I mean, who knows if both of them would have called. But if I got to the turn at 105, I would have gone at least 80. And then I'd be going almost full pot here. If I get to the river at 240, I'm going, like, 200, something like that. But, okay, so you bet 75. Yep.
Yep. So then he gets to the low jack and he tanks, and then he side calls. It gets to the hijack and he's like, I just can't let this go. It's too good.
Well, wait
and
a
then he
minute.
side
So,
calls.
so you get
Good.
both. So hijack calls as well. He overcalls.
He does.
Wow. I mean, that would almost indicate. I mean, again, you did bet 75, but I don't know in this particular case when the hijack overcalls if the sizing matters. Like maybe you could have gone 200 and still gotten both calls. Maybe the low jack wouldn't have called if you went 200, but the hijack's got to have at least kings up here to overcall. And it sounds like to me like maybe he backed into a straight. Now he was the one, he didn't 3-bet, so he shouldn't really have kings, jacks, anything like that. But I don't know, ace queen off maybe. I don't know if people are sometimes calling.
Yeah, and I talked to him afterwards because I play with him a lot. He said he definitely would have called up to like 150 or 200.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking that he's got like ace queen here. So what were did you find out? I assume you're good, right? So you're good.
Yep, I good. So I flip over, got the flush. The low jack had a flopped a set of fours
and played it like
and the
this.
hijack.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then the hijack made a straight on the river. He had queen 9.
Queen 9. Okay, sort of. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think your small sizing probably stuck queen 9 in there. Queen 9 with obviously doesn't have a diamond, right? Or was he queen 9 off or something like with the queen of diamonds?
Yep, and it was both black.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a hand that really shouldn't be continuing, especially when it goes bet call. I mean that's a terrible continue. But like I said, this is why. Again, this is why, like, we'll see where the sort of the multi-way responsibility will sometimes go out the window in these spots. But that's very surprising that the low jack, as the pre-flop raiser, played this as a check call with bottom set. Very, very rare. By the way, too, I think the whole 3-betting pre-flop is going to be valid in this spot, too, especially with what you picked up on when you said he's not all that strong. Like I said, very, very easy exploit to make. But I like thick value calls, and I would just say, yes, sizing up and getting max value. By the way, it's not just at the low stakes. You see Garrett do it on Hustler Casino Live all the time, and I love that to examine for training because obviously the level of play sometimes is like a low stakes game, even though they're adding zeros. He just gets to crush a lot of the recreational players, and you almost never see him miss out on value, do you? Like in that game. He gets maximum value. But I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. I love those types of calls.